Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Game Changers Fall Welcome Celebration. My name is Eleni Beatty, and I'm our new Assistant Director at the First Year Success Center. I'm so excited to see all of your faces. We love that you're here. We hope that these last few weeks of your semester have been going well. We have a really fun and interesting agenda for you today, so I won't take too long before we get into that. So again, welcome, and I wanted to just quickly tell you a little bit about my role here and how I will be working with several of you here in the upcoming year, maybe in the next 3 or 4 years. So what is Game Changers, right? You probably saw that on the invitation, wondered what that was. That's you. You are a game changer, whether you know it or not, making an impact on the world, your families, your own lives, whether it's now, right, or in the future. So that's the initiative that I'm helping lead with the First Year Success Center with supporting our first generation students. So we first want to celebrate you, and we also want to be here to support you, to guide you, to be your cheerleaders, your catalysts, and your connectors. So many of you are meeting with success coaches right now. We're going to talk about that more at the end of our program and what that entails. But you're going to be hearing a lot from me and from the center about how we can support you and provide you with success coaching, helping you achieve your goals. But I really want to make sure that you know that as you're looking around this room, this is just a small bit of the community that you have just joined, right? So yes, you're all Sun Devils now, but you're also part of this community, being a first generation student, many of you being the first in your family to perhaps even go to college, which is an incredible accomplishment in itself. Can I see a quick show of hands from our coaches, staff, and faculty who are first generation students? A lot of you. So you are in really good company. President Crow is a first generation student, in case you didn't know that as well. So again, I would challenge you to embrace this opportunity, get to know each other as I see you're doing, and I would also like to pose a little bit of a challenge for those of you who are kind of competitive on how many contacts you can make today where you're leaving with their contact information, whether it's another student, a coach, or some of our esteemed panelists that we'll introduce in just a moment. So without further ado, I want to introduce the director, Dr. Kevin Correa. If he'll come on up. He's the director of the First Year Success Center, and he has a few words for you, and then we'll start with our awesome VIP panel. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Eleni. Eleni is the person who has really led the organization of today's event, and I just want to take a moment to publicly acknowledge and thank Eleni for organizing this great event for us today, as well as the staff who are helping to support it. So thank you. So my role for this event is I get to moderate the amazing VIP panel that you have before you. We've assembled an all-star lineup of staff, faculty, administrators, and alumni who they themselves can speak about the first generation college experience and answer whatever questions you have on your mind about how to be successful as a first generation student. I'm going to introduce the panelists, and then we'll dive into asking them some questions. First, we have Jean Boyd. Jean Boyd has served as the Senior Associate Athletic Director for Student Athlete Development since June 2011. This year, he was promoted to the Executive Senior Associate Athlete Director and Chief of Staff. In this capacity, he leads the Sun Devil Athletics' commitment to graduating and preparing student athletes to become high achievers in life. He also coordinates student athlete well-being programs and leads the department's diversity and inclusion efforts. Jean Boyd was named the National Associate of Academic Advisors for Athletes Lan Hewlett Award winner, given to the top academic professional as voted by his or her peers in the summer of 2012. Outside of Sun Devil Athletics, Boyd continues to be committed to his life passion of empowering young people through education and sport and to maximize their human potential. In 2005, he co-founded a nonprofit organization, Scholar Baller, which promotes academic and life achievement through motivational academic incentives and educational initiatives. Boyd has been a Sun Devil since January 1991, when he joined the ASU football program as a transfer from Cerritos College in Southern California. After playing for the Sun Devils for 3 years, Boyd earned his undergraduate degree in history from the College of Liberal Arts in 1994. He went on to earn his master's degree in higher education and post-secondary education in 1998. Gene Boyd. Next, we have Mona Dixon, a professional speaker and youth coach. Mona Dixon, in May 2010, graduated third in her class at Tempe, Arizona High School and received over $100,000 in scholarships. In 2014, she graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Management from ASU, Barrett Honors College, and W.P. Carey School of Business. 2 years later, she completed her graduate degree in Communication Studies with an emphasis in advocacy, and at her very young age, Mona is currently pursuing her doctoral degree in organizational leadership. Mona was named Boys and Girls Club of America's 64th National Youth of the Year, where she represented over 4 million youth all over the world as a teen spokesperson. During her year and beyond, she has met with President Obama in the Oval Office, has been a part of events with Denzel Washington, and has been recognized by LeBron James, so she has some connections. She was also appointed by President Obama to serve on the board of directors for the Corporation for National and Community Service. However, despite all this, Mona had humble beginnings. Up until 13 years old, Mona and her family were in a constant state of change, living on the streets and moving from one homeless shelter to another. However, despite her humble beginnings, Mona believes in turning setbacks in life into motivators to succeed and uses her story to inspire others. Thank you, Mona. Yasmin Aguino. Yasmin is one of our first-year success coaches at the First-Year Success Center. She is from Phoenix, Arizona. She is a senior, and her goal is to pursue a degree in human resources towards management. Currently at ASU, in addition to being a first-year success coach, she is the Vice President of Corporate Relations for the Hispanic Business Students Association, and she is a sister for Lambda Theta Nu Sorority Incorporated. She is a proud first-generation college student. Thank you, Yasmin. Maricel Herrera is the founding director of the First Year Success Center. During her 25-year university career, she has mentored and coached countless students and professionals via innovative, impactful retention programs and initiatives. Her passion for helping others thrive is informed by her first-generation journey and shapes her roles as a certified coach, author, professional speaker, and higher education leader and consultant. As the author of 2 books, her message affirms that the power of education, faith, resiliency, and culture can transform one's life. Maricel currently serves as our center's director of training and development, where she innovates and implements a comprehensive portfolio of high-impact, evidence-based, holistic coaching and training programs. She has a graduate degree in education and certifications from the Gallup and Coaching and Positive Psychology Institutes and Harvard University. Maricel has been recognized for her leadership and advocacy with various local and national recognitions, and most recently was one of 10 recipients nationally of the 2017 Outstanding First Year Student Advocate by the National Resource Center of the First Year Experience and Students in Transition. And our 5th panelist is Dr. Dwayne Rowan. I call Dr. Rowan a triple threat because he is the Vice Provost of the Polytechnic Campus, the Dean of University College, and the Dean of the College of Integrative Sciences and Arts. In addition to that, he is coordinator for the Project for Writing and Recording Family History, and he's a professor of English. So he has a busy schedule. Since childhood, Dr. Dwayne Rowan has been interested in how people learn to write. Since his days as an undergraduate, he has been interested in how teachers can help students learn to write. His research interests have evolved throughout his career, and he is now most interested in collaborative writing, audience, portfolio assessment, family history writing, and professional development for graduate students. He loves to make connections across disciplines, which means that he can draw on many fields in his scholarship: rhetorical theory, composition theory, literary theory, linguistics, psychology, sociology, feminism, and anthropology. Because his interest in collaborative writing is more than an abstraction, he has co-authored most of his 300 or so books, chapters, journal articles, and conference papers. Collaborating with graduate students is especially exciting for him. Dr. Rowan has enjoyed teaching in person and online courses. He especially enjoys first-year writing courses, and several years ago, he worked with colleagues to redesign the online delivery of first-year composition via ASU's Global Freshman Academy. Thank you, Dr. Dwayne Rowan. All right, so our first question, and we will take questions from the audience as well. Panelists, please keep your responses to about 1 or 2 minutes tops. It's not necessary for all 5 of you to answer every single question, but feel free to speak to questions that personally resonate with you, and then we'll make sure to have time for the audience as well. So my first question for you is, what or who was a game changer for you when you were in college? Whether a person, a behavior, a habit, or an attitude or approach, who or what was a game changer for you?
Mona. So for me, coming here to Arizona State, the best thing that helped me get through was taking advantage of federal work study. So that helped connect me to a lot of people. I worked in the First Year Success Center as a coach, which is like the best paying job on campus. But besides that, I got to meet with Kevin and Maricel, and they helped guide me not only personally, but professionally. I also worked for Access ASU as well, and I see there's one of the bosses back there. But you get to meet so many different individuals and so many people who are doing powerful things here at the school, and they help move you forward. And if I don't know any answers, they have the answers for me. And if they don't have them, they can help direct me to people who do have the answers and have the resources to help move me forward. So definitely take advantage of student jobs here on campus.
Good afternoon, everyone. Gene Boyd again. And I would say a game changer for me many years ago, before you all were born, when I was a college student athlete here in the sport of football. I was a community college transfer from inner city Los Angeles, was my mother. And this may resonate with a bunch of you as it relates to people that are in your life, particularly family members who have sacrificed things so that you can be here. When we talk about first generation, or we talk about lower socioeconomic, or we talk about inner city youth, or just some of the different labels that describe certain elements of our lives, and many times we really honor and respect our families who have sacrificed so that we can be in a place to have a better experience, not only transitioning from youth into adulthood, but also as long-term adults. So my mother is someone who has worked at a inner city Los Angeles church for 53 years and has just sacrificed repeatedly, certainly during the time period where I was transitioning from high school to college and then on into the next phase of life. And she was absolutely a game changer. And the reason I bring her up is just to encourage you all that when you're going through your ups and downs and challenges and so forth, that you think about those who put you here. You put a picture of them in your mind, or literally in your space, and you honor and respect and pay attribute to them, even on a daily basis, but certainly in moments both when you're winning in the game of school or in the game of life while in college, and when you're doing not so well, you remember why you're here.
Okay. What do you wish you would have known as a first-generation college student that you know now?
Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello? Hello? Yeah, perfect. I'm Jasmine again. And something that I wish I would have known is that it's okay to fail. Many times we hear this and many times we acknowledge it, but going through the process of learning that it's okay that I didn't know this material because I didn't go to the perfect high school, or it's not even the perfect high school, but just not having those resources, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to go to tutoring center. Going to tutoring center doesn't mean that you are a little slower or anything like that. It just simply means that you're going to think smarter and not harder. You're going to get the help that you need to be able to get to where you want to be, because you're here for a reason. And looking at like all of you and knowing that you guys are all first generation students, or that have those certain backgrounds, it's totally important to know and recognize that you're here for that reason and you should work for it.
I would add to that back in the day when I went to college, I went to a small private school, predominantly white institution, and I had come from New York City in the inner city. And when I got to campus, we didn't really talk about first generation a lot, and when we did talk about it, we didn't necessarily talk about it as a positive label or attribute. So what I wish I would have known then, which I know to the core of my being now, is that being first generation is actually an asset. That it's not a deficit, that it's not something that's negative, that while you may have some challenges because you're the first one in your family to navigate a new experience and you may not know all the ins and outs, that it's actually a strength. And I've seen that in countless students that I've worked with, is a strength because when you have to navigate complicated circumstances or lack of resources, you become really resourceful. You learn how to speak up for yourself. You learn tenacity and perseverance. Many first-gen students have a real strong sense of gratitude for their experience because they had to work so hard to get to it and because they had to struggle so much. I think being first-gen affords you a level of creativity because you kind of have to make $1 out of 15 cents sometimes or patch things together. And so for me, I really wish that I had known then, and our goal today is to let you know that as a first-gen student, you have some unique experiences, and yes, some barriers and challenges, but don't let that be your identity. Let this be a source of fuel for you.
So when I was an undergraduate, before I started college, I thought I had multiple strikes against me. First of all, I was first gen, and you're going to laugh, but I didn't even know that colleges existed until I was in high school, and we had a college in my hometown because we were pretty sheltered because I lived on a farm. And I also thought that coming from a farm meant that I could never do college work. I thought that that college was for city kids, not for farm kids. So what I wish I had known is what I know now about the inventory of habits of mind and work habits and attitude that I developed as a kid growing up on a farm. I was a pretty good employee by the time I was 5 years old. I learned to work long hours by the time I was 5 years old. I learned that work was satisfying, it was rewarding, and I learned how to be disciplined because of all of that, and a whole bunch of other things. And when I think back on it now, I'm so glad I had that experience because it really helped me be the person I am today.
What's the one thing you think every first-generation college student should do? Whether that's a book they should read, a conversation they should have, one thing they should tell themselves, or a habit that they should adopt?
Find a mentor or a coach. There's nothing better than learning from individuals who've already been there and already done that, and then that just eliminates or reduces the amount of mistakes that you're gonna have, or all the going around to get to the answer when you can go straight to it. So it just cuts out a lot of that and helps you get to success faster. So just make sure you find that person, whether it's a professor and you meet them at your office hours, whether it's your first year success coach, whether it's like you meet somebody around campus who's in your sorority who's older than you, or someone who's running a club. Just find a mentor who's going to help you navigate through college and help you find the answers that you need, and just know that you're not alone. So find those individuals, and you'll be surprised that those people are so excited to want to help somebody and to pass on their knowledge to you.
On the count of three, repeat after me. 1, 2, 3. I belong. I'm here because I belong. That's what you should tell yourself every day. I can tell you, coming from an inner city environment, Compton, California area, you may or may not know it because I kind of camouflage a little bit, but I'm a biracial individual, African American and white. And I come from an environment, a neighborhood, a background where it was almost predominantly African American. And so culturally, when I walked into an English class on this campus for the first time, it was quite different from what I had experienced growing up and in my past and so forth, in my learning backgrounds. And it took me a while to fit in, and it took me a while to really feel like I belonged in that space. It took me a while to start to, using proper English in certain ways and so forth and so on. So what I needed to convince myself of early on was that not only do I belong here, but I'm here to conquer. I'm here to get everything out of this experience that I possibly can, and I'm here to change my life. And so I think that sometimes when we're in new environments like this, it can be a little bit intimidating, but you are absolutely here because you belong here. Tell yourself that every day, remind yourself, and then get a mentor who's going to reinforce that for you and help you understand, how to bend corners that maybe you didn't know about.
Okay. So Dwayne, you're in the classroom a lot. So interested in your perspective as faculty, what do you wish first-generation college students knew about how to be successful academically?
Being successful in college is no secret. And being successful at ASU becomes easier because there are so many support mechanisms at ASU. And in one of my jobs as Dean of University College, I administer this program. I administer, or the program reports to me, excuse me, I don't administer it, American Indian Student Support Services, the tutoring centers, the writing centers, the first-year success courses. And the data tell me over and over and over again that students who get engaged in those activities do far better than students who don't. So if you just do that one thing, get engaged in everything that you can, get engaged in your course in every way that you can. That means taking notes. Get engaged with your instructor outside of class. Get engaged with the academic support services. Get engaged with student government. Get engaged with your peers on Saturday night at Sun Devil Stadium, where you can have an emotional response that'll carry you through the next week. And if you get engaged in those ways, I guarantee you that you're going to be more successful.
Thank you. So Jean, you mentioned earlier family was a big source of fuel for you, and we hear that a lot with first-generation students, family being a big motivational factor for pursuing a college degree in the first place. And so I want to hear from some of our panelists, how did you include your family in your first-generation college student experience?
So for me, just like Jane mentioned, I had the big picture every single day when I wake up. This is what I do for myself, but also for my family behind me. And realizing that you are the one that's going to challenge the system. You're challenging the system right now. You're going to change the generations that are going to come after you, right? You have to have this picture of like the family, and that's what I did. I just have the picture that my mom is there supporting me at every single step that I take. Even if it's not the right step, I know she's going to be there to pull me right back up. So knowing that my family is going to be there no matter what I do, no matter what major I choose, it's what I want to do and it's what I love to do. And that's something that knowing that your family is going there to be there to support you at any circumstance is something I will always carry.
I want to speak to that a little bit as well, because I think sometimes, I know this is how I experienced it as a first-gen student, and I've heard many other first-gen students not be clear how to include family. Maybe they're far away, maybe you're out of state, or maybe it's not an environment where you're being super supported right away, or they work multiple jobs or whatever. So this idea of including family can be a rub sometimes for first-gen students, and I know it was for me. One of the things that I think would be important is because they themselves have not had the university experience, they may not know what you're experiencing. So I think it's really important as a young person to include your family by explaining and sharing as much as you can about what you're learning and about the transition that you're making. Even if they can't help you do the math for your calculus class or whatever it is because they didn't have that prior experience, doesn't mean they can't support you in a myriad of ways. I think it's important to talk to them about what you're experiencing. I think it's important to talk about expectations, meaning in many families, I know in mine, I had a major role in my family dynamics in terms of taking care of errands, household duties. Now I'm away from school, mom wants to see me. There were a lot of things that had to be sort of renegotiated and really like talking to, you know what, Mom, I can't come home every day even if I am only 20 minutes from home because I really need to engage. Not shutting them out, not assuming that they won't understand, trying to have those conversations because your relationship will change, but it doesn't have to change for the worse if you keep that communication going and make them feel a part of it. And I can say that to you both as a first-gen student, but also now as a parent of an ASU student. And I even knowing what college is like, and even knowing ASU, I had to have these conversations with my son. What do you mean, hon, you're not gonna come home this many times? Oh, okay, you can only come home this many times. And that helped me feel respected and honored as a parent, and also gave him the freedom to focus on what he needed to focus on, rather than just kind of throwing your hands up in the air and not having the conversation.
I would just add, Maricel said the word honor. So there's kind of two parts to it. How many of you all have younger siblings or younger cousins or just younger family members who have not had this experience? So it's honor and empower. You empower those individuals who are younger than you that will realize the benefit and still have the opportunity to create a picture in their mind of going somewhere like this. You empower them by feeding them stories of incredible moments you've had, or enlightening moments that you've had, or something that you learned that's maybe going to change the way you think about the life that you've come from so far, right? You empower those younger people in your family by giving them stories and experiences, sharing experiences that have become powerful for you. You honor those who put you here. Sometimes, I've even seen situations where maybe sometimes people who can't go back and do it because they feel like they're too old or whatever, they can, maybe feel a little bit resentful, or they can snap at someone sometimes because, they're dealing with their own feelings about having missed out on the opportunity. But when you communicate with your parents or someone who's an older individual that's helped you be here, you honor them by telling them what you did this week for them, or in honor of them, in honor of the spirit that they had to help you get here. So I think in both scenarios, you can honor and respect those who put you here, but then empower those who are coming behind you to plant seeds within them of a vision for where they want to be someday in the future.
Thank you. So I want to talk about mindset. Dwayne, you mentioned earlier habits of mind, and we know college is a time when students encounter lots of different setbacks and challenges, and courses are much more challenging than they were in high school. And so I want to ask the panelists, what are some advice that you can give to students regarding habits of mind and also what we call a growth mindset?
Everything starts with attitude. If you believe you can do something, you're right. If you believe you can't do something, you're right. So everything just starts with that mindset that you have about everything in life, about your test, about work, about school, about your personal battles that you're going through. If you start with a positive mindset, positive things are going to be attracted to you. But if you have a negative mindset, your negativity is going to be attracted to you. So think about that all the time. You have a choice on how you would like to feel. If something goes bad, you can say, oh, I can be mad about this for 5 minutes, or I can let this ruin my whole entire day, my whole entire week, or my whole entire semester. So you can physically and mentally talk to yourself and say, I'm not going to allow this to take that over, or to ruin my day, or ruin my class, or things like that. So definitely mindset is a big thing.
And just briefly adding to that, everybody in this room has been successful at a lot of things in life. And so do an inventory of all the things you've been successful at. You've been successful academically, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But you've been successful in many other ways. And as you make that inventory of the things you've been successful at, think about why you were successful. What did you do to make yourself successful in those situations? And then think about how you can apply those tools that you have to your experience here at ASU to be successful here and later on in your careers as well.
Right.
I just want to share real quick that it's a secret that some don't know or are not aware of, especially at the age group that you all are in. But words are very powerful. What you tell yourself, the communication you have with yourself inside this thing called your mind is very powerful. And it oftentimes will predict or dictate outcomes of your experience. And so we're talking about this thing called mindset. And how many of y'all have heard, because of course no one in this room would ever say this out loud, but how many of y'all have heard someone say, man, I'm just not very good at taking tests. I'm not a good test taker. How many of y'all have heard someone say that? Now, privately in your mind, if you have said that to yourself, stop saying that, because that is called a fixed mindset. You're fixed on the fact that I'm not good at something. You can change that. You can become excellent at taking exams if you so choose, but it starts with what you verbalize in your mind and then out loud. Maybe it's, I need assistance in improving my ability to take tests. That's actually called a growth mindset, meaning you can grow into something you hadn't seen yourself in before. And I think with folks who are first generation or come from inner city backgrounds or things along those lines, a lot of times we've been shaped externally by what people have told us about our community or about where we come from or about who we are. We can shatter those myths. We can shatter these false realities that people put on us by saying, you know what, I used to not be good at this, or in the past I had difficulty with this, but in the future I'm going to become excellent at taking tests. And part of the reason that these resources exist is to help you all be right in touch with, literally in touch with people who can help you to change that about yourself. So don't limit yourself or your thought process by saying things or using language internally or externally that will keep you in a place that limits your growth. It's about being open-minded and evolving and elevating up in how you think, what you say, and ultimately what you do.
And the other thing that really can affect your mindset and your outcomes is who you spend your time with. So they said that, you've seen this studies and memes that say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's actually research-based. So if you want to win and if you want to be doing well in your major in your school, or you want to, have an internship or whatever it is that you define success as, you really need to surround yourself with people who are like-minded and who are going in the same direction. And what that means is that you have to be intentional about your relationships. I hear students talk about, I'm just killing time. Don't ever kill time. You never get it back. And that doesn't mean you can't relax. But you have to be very intentional who you give your energy to, who you allow to speak into your life, who is sapping your energy. I don't know about you, but I've had, times in my life where I have people who all they do is bring drama, and they suck the energy out of you, and you're supposed to be studying, and now you can't get to it for another 2 or 3 hours. So I tell you this even as young people, and I may seem harsh, but people either build you up or they tear you down. There's rarely anything in between the two. And so I want to encourage you to evaluate your relationships, evaluate who you're spending time with. Are they going in the same direction? It doesn't mean they have to have the exact same goals, but are they celebrating you? Are they encouraging you? Are they pouring into you? Is the relationship reciprocal, or is it not? And if it's not, then there's some choices to be made there, because you really need to be focused on what you're here to get, and you've got plenty to manage on your own without adding all of that extra stuff that really has nothing to do with your future.
Excellent. Does anyone in the audience have any questions for our panelists? All right. Well, I know we're at time, so please join me in thanking our esteemed colleagues for sharing their great wisdom and advice.